Patrick, you just returned from a town that's probably in the hardest hit area. How bad are things there?
As bad as it gets, basically. It's a scene of total and utter devastation. I mean, I've seen some bad disasters like the 2004 tsunami in Indonesia, but this is just as bad, if not worse. The emergency services are working full tilt. There's civil defense out there. There's the fire engines everywhere, sirens everywhere. I mean, it's still very much emergency mode, trying to find dead bodies amongst the debris, but also taking care of the survivors, and that for the Red Cross is very much a priority.
And where are survivors staying there? And I mean, do they have enough food? Do they have enough water? Because in a lot of the areas we're seeing, they're running out of water. They're low on food.
It's very difficult. Some of these areas are fairly remote, isolated communities along the coastline, and I spent the past 2 days in a town called Otsuchi, which was totally flattened, a population of 17,000. They believe about 9,500 of them are still missing. But people there are sheltered in temporary evacuation centers, in gymnasiums, in schools. These were pre-designated evacuation points where a lot of people got to before the tsunami came in. But they only had half an hour in this town. This is the closest town to the epicenter of the quake. So many people, particularly the elderly, and there's a large elderly population in this town, simply couldn't escape.
And Patrick, at this point, what are the greatest needs for people in the hardest hit area?
Well, I think the greatest needs really are just someone there to care for them. I mean, there's hundreds of people in an evacuation center I went to yesterday in Otsuchi. They're lying on the floor on strips of cardboard. They've got blankets. The Red Cross has provided those for them. The government's providing food, but they're isolated. There's no electricity. There's no heating. There's no mobile phone connectivity. They don't know what's going on in the outside world. They can't get in touch with their relatives. And it's difficult to get out. One of the big issues is resupplying some of these areas. Trucks can't get in along the main highway, and the shops, just where there are shops, that is, they simply don't have any stock. So when stock does come in through the government system, there are long queues. And yesterday, for the first time, I saw people sort of picking through the debris, looking for food, sort of packets of noodles, stuff that they can salvage.
For the Red Cross, what is the greatest priority, and how can people help?
Well, the Japanese Red Cross is very much part of the government's sort of well-oiled machinery. I mean, they have a very designated role to provide medical assistance to these evacuation centers. And they're giving care to people in the evacuation centers. A lot of elderly people there with complaints like hypertension, diabetes, conditions that they needed regular treatment for. So that is very much the priority for us. And moving on from there in the coming weeks, I think psychological support will be greatly needed.
Patrick, I appreciate all your work, and we'll talk with you in the days ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Anderson. Cheers.